pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're open for public comment.
Nope.
You want to
approve the agenda first.
So moved.
Okay.
We're taking that. Did you take that one thing out?
Whoa.
Hey, we're still on public comment.
No, we're on agenda.
Agenda approval.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay. That's what we're asking
Well,
you
I'm
to
new
do.
at this.
Yes, you are. So Josh
You're
voted
renewed at it.
to approve, and so we need a second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay, now.
Now, public comment. No public comment. Haley, you don't have any public comment today?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Most days, but not tonight.
Okay, consent items. Can we have a motion to approve?
So move we approve the minutes. I go. Consent items.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Any corrections, additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion items, policy for transporting students outside of the district.
Okay, this is not a typical place to put the policy, but in policy 707, it does state in section 4, and she's taking notes, but in section 4, whoop, okay. B, the school district may, in its discretion, also provide transportation to any student to and from school at the expense of the school district for any other, no, hold on, that's not it.
No, it's further down.
Or is it
It's
D?
it's in the section on non-resident students.
Oh, non-res. There,
There.
thank you, 5, not 4. Okay. So A, if requested by the parent of a non-res student, the school district shall provide transportation to a non-res student within its borders at the same level of service that's provided to resident students. If the district decides to transport the non-resident district within the student's resident district, the school district will notify the student's resident district of its decision in writing prior to providing transportation. Those things have been in our policy. And we are, where it's coming into an issue is we have students who are open enrolled from neighboring districts. We are sending a bus to some of them, and to others we aren't. And what is the what I'm asking, not to make the decision right now, I'm saying as far as policy, do we need to have some procedures that are attached to this? There's a policy that we're looking at for Title I, and it deals with foster students, and there's a stipulation in there that students who are able to be transported to school on an existing route when feasible, feasibility considerations will include location, length of bus ride, space available on the right, availability of any needed accommodations. Those types of procedural things are what we need to start looking at. So I'm bringing this as a discussion point to say that, is this something that you feel the policy committee should write procedures on? Is this something that you feel that the principals and the transportation director should write up the procedures and bring them to the board for approval? As far as writing procedures, sometimes the procedures are written within the policy committee, sometimes the procedures are written by the groups that are going to be actually doing them, and then it's amended to the policy. We don't have, this is new territory for this policy. So that's why I'm saying, what would the board feel comfortable with going forward? I'm saying we need to have procedures so we're consistent with everybody, and so that it's not a, do we do the transportation here? Do we not do the transportation? Are we being consistent with everybody? Is there something in writing we can look at and say, this is what we're doing as far as providing that transportation? Because right now we've got buses and vans going all over the place, and it's
A nightmare.
it is. It is. I've driven the van. There was one night I drove the van. I know Todd's driven the van a couple of times.
So we need to fine tune this policy so that we can just say this is the policy, this is where we lie.
And what it is the procedures that go along with the policy. So it's much easier to write the procedures than it is to change the policy. And the policy is fine. It's just, we need to look at, are there going to be some stipulations as far as the length of the bus ride? Those things I talked about. Are we going to look at, is it going to be with space available? Is it going to be if it's on an existing route? Is it going to be if we have a driver? Is it going to be if we have a certain number of students that we're picking up? Is it going to be, so there's all of those ramifications that really shouldn't be during the time of a board meeting hashing that out. But what I'm saying is, what group do you feel should hash it out? I want the board to approve the procedures, because this is, typically the board doesn't have to approve procedures that are attached to policies. However, in this case, I really do feel that it should have the board approval, because it's.
So I would assume that the board approves procedures once we have the procedures are not, in my understanding, in my training, it's not the board role to make the procedures. But we have in policy committee discussed procedures in many cases.
Right.
And to understand what is happening either at this school or this site, or can we get these all uniform and consistent to the degree that they are, and that we're just aware of it. But in my opinion, it's not my job to develop these policies. I don't know what all the individual incidences that you're dealing with are. You've mentioned some other things that that fall under this umbrella, preschool transportation. And so either the full board, but we do have a policy committee. I would think that you or whoever you designate to develop the policies, develops some policies and presents them to the policy committee to talk about them, and then could forward them to the full board. But they could just be developed and brought to the full board. But, so.
And that's what do you feel would make it the least cumbersome? Let's just say that, as far as if you don't want to be, how do I word this? If another group develops the procedures that go with this policy, and it doesn't come to the policy committee first to look at those procedures, will the board wonder and say it needs to go to the policy committee first?
Well, the policy committee cannot approve something for the board. The board has to approve it.
Correct. However, is that something that, is the board going to expect the policy committee to look at these and hash them over first before it comes to the board? And that's why we're discussing.
We need the rest of the members to make that decision.
So it's more or less developing procedures to
It's-
be consistent with the policy.
Correct.
Well, we have procedures, it sounds like there are procedures that, that fall within the policy, but they are not consistent or uniform. They are almost on a case-by-case basis.
Right, and
So-
that's what we need to get away from.
And we can either say, yeah, we're just gonna let it go case by case because, or we're gonna,
Yeah, cause each school year's needs change for which direction and how many students.
well, we did for things like, some of the procedures, we had a discussion about let's get these procedures more consistent from site to site, and I don't think that was a bad discussion in policy committee, nor a bad decision on the part of the board. We have to be careful not to drill the language down too detailed or leave certain things to the site or to the local administrator or the situation, but I'm in favor of having it go to the policy committee. But then it would be up to the other board members who would then get briefed on the recommendation of the policy committee and whether the rest of the board is happy with that or not.
You happy with it, Josh?
Are the limits in the transportation department and Mr. Lundberg, are they pretty firm? Do they have a firm idea of what our limitations are for?
That's why we need to spell this out, because right now we're in trying to do it all, we are running ourselves ragged.
So, are they gonna be involved in this?
Well, and see, that's
Well, I'm
why,
assuming so.
that's-
We're not doing it, but
Right,
that would be
and that's
that would
why-
be my request.
that's why I was coming here. Were you expecting the policy committee to have those people come to policy committee and having the policy committee along with those people hash out the procedures, or did the policy committee want those people to hash out the procedures and then bring it to the policy committee and have the policy committee talk about it then and then bring it to the board? It's just, this is a procedural question, not what are the procedures going to be for busing, but what are the procedures that the board wants to follow for coming up with procedures?
Mhm.
And how many times can I use the word procedures in this conversation?
And so Michael is suggesting that they form them up and just let the policy committee review it.
And
And question it
ask
and ask
questions.
for revisions if, I don't,
And then-
for us to sit with all the, what are we gonna say? Oh, I don't know what the best decision is. Give us your best and we'll poke holes at it and try to improve it.
And then you'll present what you feel is
Yeah.
When
Sounds like a
we
great-
have an agreement, then we'll
great
bring it
plan.
to the board.
Okay, so
What do you
if-
think, Gene?
I think so. I mean, you got a lot, because I mean, even the policy 509 with your open enrollment, like non-resident students, that's going to fit in with that some as well. I mean, I think, but I mean, we do benefit by it. I think right now we got 6 coming in from Caledonia or something, and that. And if we look at the dollar
Yes,
amount coming
at
in, I mean,
least.
the busing in here is pay or not. So we look at that. So we have policies in
It's
each
more
of these.
consistency, right?
Yeah, so it's consistency with the procedures of doing it and who's gonna do it, so. And I don't know in terms of procedures that way, so policies, we do have that way.
So you'll
I
have
think the procedures have to come from.
And so the procedures
under-
will address
Yeah.
preschool transportation, they'll address out-of-district
You're right.
transportation, so we've got that all spelled out.
So you'll have the parties involved, put together what they feel is the correct, present that to the policy committee. They will put their stamp of approval in.
Then it would come to the board. And then the people on the policy committee can ask a bunch of questions and we can get some things, if necessary, more specified, or in some cases, more relaxed, if they feel that it's written in too tight a fashion. If that's, okay.
That sounds the right thing to do.
Okay,
So you'll have to let us know, I would assume that the principals would be involved of the local schools, the local sites, the transportation advisor, and, you know, that probably covers,
The three of them.
and you,
Yeah.
obviously. And Gwen, if there are financial considerations, I would suggest that those folks come up with something and then call a meeting and we'll,
Okay,
When's your next committee meeting due today?
we only call meetings as needed. They aren't
Okay.
they aren't established on a regular basis, so.
I just
It
wanted
used
to.
be.
Oh, you ironed out most of the wrinkles?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we worked, we ironed out a lot of
Yeah,
stuff, I
they
think.
used to meet, we were out
We
of our
went through-
cycle.
We
And
went through
so,
the whole policy book and put a lot of those procedures, some of them were amended, but all of them were understood as being, you know, as part of it, and so
so now we've got a policy cycle and everybody can have access to when the policies are going to be reviewed and every policy's on there. So no policy goes more than 3 years without a review.
well, that's thanks to a superintendent who follows the 3-year cycle, because it's easy to let those things not bubble to the top, so. Speaking as a policy committee member, I appreciate that you've made sure that we are reviewing them.
I never wanna go through those policy meetings again.
I think we'd agree with that. Okay, so that's settled it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, set time and date for World's Best Workforce public hearing.
And I have an email out to the teachers on the committee to try to figure out who's on the committee, and I'm waiting to hear back on that. With this, the summary needs to be submitted to MDE before December 15th. That means the latest we could hold the meeting would be December 6th, however, that's our truth and taxation meeting. So that leaves either November 1st or November 15th.
Any thoughts?
Well, I would suggest November 15th, because the district advisory committee needs to meet
Yep.
somewhere in here.
Yep.
To make recommendations or to be aware of what is gonna be on that meeting, right?
Oh, they'll need to meet, at least a couple of times.
So we're already into October. Meet twice in a month or twice in 5 weeks, that's why I'm suggesting November 15th.
Sounds good.
Can that be by consensus here? Or do we have to make a motion on that?
Well, it's just
Just
discussion, but
Oh, so we'll set it at the next meeting.
Just
Right.
firm it up.
Okay.
but in the meantime, I'm hoping that, the district advisory committee will convene before the next board meeting. So there should be a committee report. I'm looking at what World's Best Workforce says, what staff development says, and when they're both all kind of combined there with World's Best Workforce, we need to have equal numbers of administrators and teachers. And school board members are deemed part of administration. And with 3 school board members on there, and 2 administrators, that means we need at least 5 teachers. So I'm trying to get that.
Okay. Anything else on that? Old business? High school garage addition.
Looking back, we never actually approved this, and so we do need to approve, oh, it's upside down. Can you? Yep. There, thank you. This is the side where it's getting built on. The red off to the left is the 16-foot addition. Where it says, in the blue, where it says foundation fix. Kyle, in measuring, found that the foundation is off by a couple of inches. So we need to fix the corner there to make sure it's actually square. And then what we're going to do is have storage on the back end and then parking in the front. He can do this with the addition. There's the old, we're looking at whether we want to have storage along the whole back, and so in closing some of that huge van garage right now that sometimes has stuff in there stored, sometimes the vans drive to the back wall. We also have to fix, if you scroll back up again, Ann, thank you, where it says football, where they've got the football stuff stored, that corner in the upper right-hand corner, the foundation is, that needs to be repaired. And so what we're looking at doing is possibly putting a cement apron around and having a little, like a little plastic culvert running, so for drainage, so that the football stuff can stay dry. But Kyle said, just to get the addition done, that would be this fall's project for his construction. And he's teaching Your First Home in the spring. So in the spring, that class might be able to do the foundation fix. And so he said, looking at the addition, the foundation fix, the garage doors, and we're looking at the potential of having electric garage doors instead of having the padlocks, so that that can be, he can be more secure with that. Then he can do the whole thing under 25,000. We're shooting for 20,000, but if you approve up to 25,000, then we know that if he rips into something and realizes, ooh, this is gonna need a little more of a fix. Then the other thing, if you could scroll back up to the top one, we talked about each stall having, when we were talking about building another garage, each stall being its own entity with walls. With the storage in the back, if we've got the storage in the back and each of those has its own place, do we actually need the walls in between the van storage anymore? That would save some money to not have to have each van, because we talked about having each one be in its own with a wall, so that if we didn't want a van there, we could just have it for storage and each person's stuff was locked. But if we have the storage sections all along the back, so Drama Club could have one of those areas, Phi Ed would have one of those areas, MNVA would have one of those areas, then we wouldn't have to take up a van stall and we wouldn't have to have the walls in between the vans.
So I have a so we are discussing this as old business and you're asking for approval on something with regard to this tonight?
Because we talked about, when we talked about Kyle's class doing it, it was more of a consensus. It wasn't really an official vote.
So I would rather funnel this back through facilities committee, because they've been more an ongoing part of the conversation.
Except facilities committee, it's over the dollar amount, so it would have to come to the board for approval.
I understand that, but I'd rather have them hammer out if they have questions, that's just, whatever. That's where because I am like trying to make sense of, yeah, the wall for I don't remember all the discussion. It probably was presented, but facilities had said, we're gonna do this, and then, yeah, it sounds like it's good if Kyle's class does it, and I assumed that that was tacitly approved by facilities, and
Where did facilities leave off with it? What's
Yeah.
been adjusted since they presented it to us last time?
What's been adjusted is actually knowing how much storage space is on the southern exposure of it. And so the reason for the walls in the stalls
Yeah.
was to make each stall then a storage space. With the storage space in the back, we don't really need each stall to be a self-contained storage space anymore.
So did these groups using this for storage, they are optimistic will be able to fit what they're planning. I don't think people we gain and subtract things over time, but
because it looks like that elementary storage and drama storage looks bigger to me than the room on the backside. And I don't know.
so
What elementary storage are you
It says
talking?
elementary storage and.
the old plan.
Oh, yeah, the drama and elementary, yeah, they've actually never been able to, the drama wasn't able to use that because that side of the garage, had water running in it, because that door that faces the east, just, it didn't have the sealant under it, and it just, so the drama club has never been able to use that since.
Well, it seems to me that
So-
seems like a fix that needs to be.
We had the whole board in place. Did we as a board approve the remodeling of this? I know we ixnayed the.
Yeah,
The new
I'm
garage?
back where we had
New
the
building.
garage going out
I do
there.
remember having a full board. Well, just to
Yeah,
so
that's
I
what I'm
can-
trying to remember. Where am I supposed to be on this?
yeah.
The discussion was to move it to there, that's the
Right.
last discussion.
Is that the last
Oh.
one? Okay. And I remember what you were saying. We were talking about compartmentalizing each bay. So
And the urgency is because Kyle's class is, which class is it that he?
Construction class, they have poured the concrete, cause the fall doesn't give you a lot of time to work outside.
So are there things that,
so
So
we're
the-
just deciding on the interior walls then? The bump out has been poured? The bump?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is we got permits from the city for
Yes.
construction?
Yes.
So, when we're talking the hope of a 20,000, that's without the interior walls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much did, I know this is a lot less than the new garage construction, what do we have allotted for that? This Wednesday?
Well, no, the quotes we got to construct the garage over
Yes.
in that area without, drilling in for electricity, just the construction of the building was, 65,000. So this saves about $40,000. Plus, it's already got the electric there, so we don't have to dig in any new electric lines.
And Kyle's wondering if he's building interior walls or not. Okay. So is each stall spoken for? Is there a vehicle for each one, or is it anticipated that one will sit empty?
Well, we just got the new van, so that's the 10 by 10
10.
door, so we need a higher door.
Okay.
And I actually think we've got vans for all the stalls now, yes.
The other thought is that interior walls can be added on another school year.
that's what I don't know about construction, that's why I'm saying.
Oh,
facilities
yeah,
would be
they could then partition this next year. That could be an additional project if the need arises and say, hey, we do need to. So if you wanna keep it that simple, we can just leave it open for for today's meeting. It sounds like this project's well underway.
Yeah, it does. It is.
So, so the other groups like drama, they're happy, they're excited that this is gonna.
They're happy they're gonna get any, type of storage that stays dry.
Okay.
And, yeah, and
Is there a plan to keep the wet part dry?
there's not gonna be any exterior door on the, east side.
Okay,
If we have the doors north and south and make sure it's sloped away, that's the other thing that in the existing doors, in Kyle and looking at them, we need to bump those out so they're flush with the other doors. There's a setback for those doors right now, and in the setback, the concrete isn't level, and so it allows water to go in. So if we bump them out, then we can do some sloping with the concrete apron. Cause there were some fixes that were necessary.
Yeah, I would say, it's too bad that this wasn't presented earlier. I know it's been a while since it was brought up. It sounds like it was, good planning and a good budget and accomplishing the task at hand, so no criticism there, but since it's been such an ongoing discussion about the extra storage, it'll kind of catches everyone off guard.
I would say since facility Tom and Gary, I mean, we nixed the other job because cost rate and everything else, and they said this would do, and this was within our regional budget much better, that we're saving a lot of money this way and still getting what we need, that we should probably go ahead with them since they're working on it to get it done.
was that a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the construction on the existing building addition.
With a motion to approve this construction, is there a second?
Up to 25,000.
Is there a second?
So facilities
Second.
committee
We
was
need
up
a
to.
second first.
I'm still in the process.
Yeah, I'm not ready to second it. I don't.
Pull that back, Gene. I know Prince is fit, it'll be tied, but, can we open this for discussion? yet?
No, we have
No,
to have a
you have
second.
to have a
The second thing.
I mean, you were speaking in moving forward with later ability to. If you second it, you can vote against it.
Okay, I will second this, and then,
Now you can
We
have
have a motion and a second. I can continue
Now we can
on the
discuss.
discussion.
so, just bring me up to speed, help me out here. The facilities committee is up to date with this current plan, the only thing, and they stamped their approval.
That this was the right way to move forward by
Okay.
building on.
Okay,
And
And
this foundation fix and that's new information, and
Because
Well, it was
as his
mentioned.
class started it and started measuring and he was showing them how to do it, the measurements weren't making sense.
which
And so-
commonly happens.
So he measured again and realized that,
Yeah, they wanna square it up.
Yeah.
right. So it's a great project for the kids to figure out if you're building on and there's a flaw, this is how you fix it.
It just hadn't been brought up lately. I just wanted to make, since there was so much discussion, I wanted to make sure that those guys were up to speed. And yes, obviously fix the foundation, and then discussion about the partition walls can be done at a later date. So I'll firm up my second.
nice job, Josh.
All right.
Appreciate
So
your thoughtfulness,
essentially,
you know more
the-
about construction than I do.
Essentially, the facilities committee is aware of what's going on, and if one of them was here tonight, we might hear from them.
I would hope they would both say that because they have been apprised of this as it's been going along, yes.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. Next, concession stand manager.
This is once again asking if we could post. Lisa Chuddy did ask. Lisa, there were 11 schools that responded to her request. Of those 11, 6 pay an adult to manage the concession stand, and 3 have their booster clubs doing it. If the booster club runs a concession stand, the school has no say with what the booster club does with the money, or no say with the school basically has given over the concession stands to the booster club. Of the, so there's only 2 of the 11 that don't pay somebody to run the concession stands, basically. That's the point. Different groups, other than the 3 where the booster club gets all the money, and our booster club has been asked already if they have the wherewithal to help run this, and they said no. One thing, there is one school that the booster club pays the person to run it. That's one question we could ask of the booster club, is if they have the money to pay for the person to run the concession stands. Because of the 11 schools, there were only 3 of the 6 that said what the stipend is. One pays $1,000, one pays $1,200, and one pays $40 per home event. $40 per home event works out to about $1,400 a year for managing the concession stands. Another school said their booster club pays for it. That's been coming up as far as where is this money coming from. It can't come from the profits. Student activity funds can only go to students. Right now, the concession stands are run through the student activity account, and that's where they have to be run through. Student activity accounts cannot pay for employee compensation, stipends, or awards. So we can't pay anybody from what we make at the concession stands. That's just, it's against Chapter 14 of MDE's rules on student activity funds. And so that would be one way we could request that to see if the booster club, but then the booster club would be hiring somebody.
You'd mentioned in a board update that there was information about a coach that that did it and couldn't take, can't be paid a stipend, but the funds can go to the organization. So what is the definition of organization?
He's a baseball coach, so the $1,000 goes to the baseball.
So could we also have organizations that supply and pay for, because the organization, we can't dictate what the funds are used for. We just say this organization is doing it, and that's basically what, right now, junior class has football and girls basketball. The yearbook has volleyball and boys basketball. So those organizations are already they're already charged with finding the student workers. So there's it's not about finding the student workers, it's about making sure that there's an adult. For football games, we're still going to need junior class parents to help out
So and the junior class parents did get a letter mailed in the summer, in August. Every parent got a hard copy of a letter explaining concession stands with a schedule, and they were already scheduled to work, and they were told if they could not work their shift, it was their responsibility to switch with someone else. And Lisa Evans said that she was going to send out another email blast now before winter sports, and she needed to contact parents to work because we'll have a playoff game. And so she has been in contact with every single junior parent. With Yearbook, it's not just the kids on Yearbook that work. It's any student that wants to defray the cost of their yearbook that can work. And so a lot of times it's ironic, but because the pool of candidates for working is larger, it's actually harder to find somebody willing to work it because they think that there's always somebody else that can do it. My easiest year when I had to staff a concession stand was the year that I had a junior class with about 22 students, because all of the parents of that class knew there wasn't anyone else. And so that was my easiest year finding workers. The next year, when the class was close to 40, it was much harder because they said, well, there's so many of us, we each don't have to work a game.
So we are going to pay the adult, and then they're going to facilitate which students help them on those given days?
If we pay the adult worker, then that adult is there for volleyball and for boys and girls basketball, and we'll be there for football. But with football, we'd still need parents to work as well. But then we wouldn't have to find parents to work for volleyball, boys or girls basketball.
And so the student benefits will continue for those students that sign on. We're purely putting an adult in place as a consistent, right? So we really aren't fine tuning anything else. It's just a matter of paying the fee of having an adult.
Yeah, which is what 6 of the schools have gone to have that.
And we're gonna put that in place from here on out? Or are we just trying to fix this year?
Well, this is something we did have in place. Stan Whittaking was the last person that did it as a concession stand manager, and he was paid a stipend to do that, and he was not paid from the student activity account. And then when he quit, the Booster Club took it over, and the Booster Club was given the stipend. And then the Booster Club stopped getting the stipend.
So this person that's going to do this, would they be responsible for getting the students to work?
The junior class advisors would still get the juniors to work their events, and the volleyball and boys basketball games, the yearbook advisor would still be getting the kids to work those. It's just to have the adult.
I feel that compared to the other districts, it's, Corinne had mentioned this is a less equal or less cost, and it's obviously, are we gonna revisit this next year then, or?
Include that in other board members who aren't here tonight have expressed concern about this being a cost to the district.
Yeah.
That what else is out there that is outside the mission of the school, concessions is important. I'm not trying to say that,
it opens up the can of worms.
It opens up a can of worms, and I realize we're in a tough spot for this year, and I would like to find a way to help this year, but I don't favor it being an ongoing decision. I still don't understand this one bit of information that we got about schools and shares and organizations getting certain amount of the shares and how that worked. I mean, there have to be,
Different organizations signed up for different games, and so all the games, instead of just having it, this is the one real fundraiser for our junior class, and this is the one fundraiser for Yearbook. Instead of earmarking the junior class or Yearbook, what they do is have a calendar of every home event, and then organizations can sign up for whatever event they want, and then those organizations get,
supply the workers and get the proceeds of the night.
right,
To me, that is an option. I mean, I don't, it sounds like an option. It doesn't help the junior class for their major fundraiser, but they're having trouble having adults show up to run the concessions on their behalf, so.
So right now, we're, by doing this, we're asking the school to pay $1,100 so that the kids can get the reward of working.
Well,
the junior
and
class
even
can get the profits and.
Because of the 11 schools, 6 pay adults and 3 have the booster club doing it. So there's only 2, as I said, and even when the other organizations are signing up, like with the baseball coach, where his organization is getting 1,000, he is the one basically managing it and making sure that if he can't be in the concession stand, he is sure that he's got, he knows he's got the adult in there, because he knows that his organization, his baseball club, is getting the $1,000 for him managing it.
Just like that idea.
Yeah,
What, I mean.
I do.
But I think, what if there's no organization that wants to step up and do the work and get whatever they perceive as the profits, then what, are we not having concessions? That's not a good option either, but I don't really wanna put money that could be paying for ACTs or AP tests or some of the things we've talked about, for concessions.
So in this year's case, the items that generally are paid for the juniors for their senior year, where is that gonna stand? Those students that their families didn't help in, are they still gonna benefit then and get theirs paid for? Cause it's really not a set policy, it's just that's what happens, is that
That's
money
what
goes.
Yeah, everybody gets the
Okay.
benefit on the yearbook.
So,
Everybody,
either way,
well,
a paid adult.
with the yearbook, those who work get extra money
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
But everybody gets
For the graduate.
a discounted or
Right,
because we're subsidizing the cost of the
we're
yearbook.
subsidizing the cost of the yearbook, and those that work get even more subsidization, or subsidization?
It sounds.
A bigger subsidy.
Yeah, there you go.
It may not be a popular thought with Lisa or those involved. Everyone realizes how difficult this is, but it definitely sounds like a majority of the board is not for filling this position, or just paying.
Well, not on a permanent basis anyway. I mean, I'm willing to do something to help this year, but I would not want to see it go on. I would like to see a better, more sustainable solution that isn't drawing on the district.
I would second, if you made that motion that this was just for 2018, 2019, I would second that.
So the cost that was on there was, in the past, it was, and I don't know how many years past that was, 11, so.
It was $1,100, and that was,
Could we have Todd weigh in on this one?
You're the chair.
you're the chair, so you can call on anyone you
Well,
want.
just, a couple things. This position ended up disappearing. The board didn't vote to get rid of it. So we had paid someone because of the struggle. And then the booster club, and that person left, and the booster club said, yeah, we'll do it, and then we're gonna turn around, take that money and pay for the end of the year banquet on that. And then it kind of somehow fell through, and the athletic director kind of took care of it, but was always a struggle. Where we're at now is, again, that struggle that we were ready to close down and say, we're not having concessions for the night. If we did that, I think the public
would just go crazy on something like that. So, you know, that's something to really be aware of on that piece. The other piece that concerns me, that I have high concerns with, is having a different parent coming in and handling lots of money. We had someone that was in, a law enforcement person, and go, well, wait a minute, you know, how do I, you know, really, how do you know that I'm not taking money or anything like that? Was quite concerned about our procedures about that when we have lots of different adults every night handling money. Instead of having one consistent person doing that is a different piece of the puzzle. So that's a piece of something that it's always a little bit of a concern on parents, people coming in, that is of concern.
Well, again, to the support of an organization who wants to make profits on doing this, putting a responsible person in place. I mean, you know.
But that's the thing. The problem is we just haven't been able to get the people, and volunteering is just seeming to go downhill nationwide. You know, that's the sad part of it. But it is something that, this isn't like new something. This is something that just, for whatever reason, and this thing disappeared. You know, I don't even know if we'd be talking about it, you know, about cutting the position if it didn't somehow disappear for whatever reason, and now we're at the point again, we're way back when, at that point needing to have someone manage that so we didn't have this problem.
We have, for softball and baseball, I mean, we do have, Paul is doing the concessions. Yeah, so that money goes to the band or to where?
Yeah, how does that one work?
That doesn't run through, that runs through Music Boosters, has that one. And so Paul takes it on, and so that doesn't run through the student.
So it goes into the Music Boosters account?
No, it doesn't.
Did it?
Do I have to be like called on to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, girl.
So for the softball and baseball, I've worked it before. My mom works it a lot. So you sign up to work in the email. My mom signs me up. And the money you make, the profit you make, goes towards your band trip fee, takes it off. So I didn't go on the Minneapolis trip. So my sister will probably have her trips paid for because my mom works it during like 12 and under during the summer. And I think that works really well, and they never have a problem with getting families to sign up. So I don't know if you guys wanted to consider something like that.
The family
But it
can
seems
bank
like
it.
it works really, really well.
But it's run through the Music Boosters account.
So the Music Boosters have control over that, so they can do what they want with the money, is that what you're saying?
And it goes to the students.
Could this be anything that could be opened up to groups outside of the school, or not? Has to be like after prom party parents, or running concessions. They're always looking for ways to raise funds. Like Music Boosters, like, I don't know what else the students in a given sport, what could the funds help them do? Raise money for, you know, something they want for their sport, or jerseys, or whatever, things they have to pay for. And I'm just.
Isn't this what we're kind of doing now, but we're not getting any response, or am I missing something?
Well, the yearbook is the thing,
And then the junior class. And if the yearbook didn't have this, there would have to be some other way that the district would subsidize yearbook. Otherwise, it would just be, and we had 80 yearbooks sold. So obviously, students still want to buy the yearbook. I don't want to say that, I don't want to price kids out of the yearbook. And this is something that really does help subsidize the cost of the yearbook and allows for more students to buy it than what they would.
Do you have a handle on what the profit is for the concessions?
We can't use it anyway, though.
It was
I'm just
2,585.61 was the profit.
Divided
Last year, the concession stand during volleyball and boys basketball.
Right.
they took in 5,200, the profit was 2,500 something.
Okay.
So, I will make a motion to, pay $1,000 for the winter season.
1,000 for winter?
Well, 1,000 for the remainder of this.
Because it would be,
Volleyball's over and football's over.
yeah,
When we get basketballs,
Oh, so less than that,
maybe half.
500?
Well, there's more.
there's
Two
more,
more games.
How many
there's more
games are there?
basketball,
About 26 games.
26.
As
right, I
opposed to
haven't made
6,
this
so
Motion very well
you
yet.
could take 20% off.
It's a,
Well, there's volleyball, okay. How
would
many
you prefer to
volleyball
stay with the flat rate, or did you wanna itemize it per game?
At $40 per game, that winter sports would be
1,040.
about 940 or 1,000.
There you go.
I'll make
Jeez.
a motion to go to $900. Like lowball ya.
We have a
And then to
motion.
revisit, or,
And for this. to
1
keep
year.
For this year, and that, we look for a more sustainable solution that doesn't come out of the district. I know that, or to revisit it.
yeah, I'll second that.
That was a really convoluted motion.
So the motion was for 900 just for winter sports season?
Mhm.
Okay. Just double checking.
For this year only.
Right.
And there's a second on that. Further discussion? What happens to the football games that are left?
We'll muddle through.
Is there any type of,
Well, if you get somebody hired,
for hiring now, is there a job description? Are we gonna be able to see job description, or what they have to do exactly, the person?
We can write that up.
It'll work out.
Yeah.
Do we wanna put this on for future agenda so we can get this all set up over the
Before.
summer?
before the start of.
We'll do it at the conclusion of the winter sports season, so you know how it went.
That would be
There you
great.
go,
That would be great.
alright.
Would anybody consider, if they're muddling through, to add $40 a game for the football? The rest of football
And volleyball?
and volleyball?
There's only one football and one playoff for 2 playoffs.
Well, then you could,
They won't have anybody hired by now yet. I mean, so
we could just leave it at the 11.
it takes a while.
Well, how long will it take to hire somebody?
A while.
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Well, unless there's somebody.
Probably somebody in the hopper.
Lurching.
I think they'll, so, I was okay with the 11, I'm okay with the 11. And my only question, let's just do this year and revisit it and get a better,
We have a motion on the floor, we should,
We have a motion for
for the
900.
900, we have to vote that
900
up or
for
down.
volleyball and basketball. Or
For
for basketball
basketball.
and basketball.
Right, for the winter sports season.
and I seconded that, so we can.
That included wrestling though too, doesn't it?
That's correct.
Winter
The
sports.
one, yep, the one wrestling.
Yeah.
game.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I guess we all covered that.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else on that, or are we moving on?
Moving on.
Okay, new business, resolution of support for small town and regional vitality investment act of 2018.
And this is why I asked Haley to come. Haley and Trenton Kubitz and I met with staff members from Congressman Tim Walz's office. And this is a bill that Congressman Walz is going to put on the floor now and before the election as his kind of swan song. But it's not a bill the way a bill is typically created. This is really a bill that was created from a grassroots, having his staff come out and talk to us, and then looking at what we needed, and then they put the bill together and brought it back to Washington, where typically bills are created in the Beltway in Washington and then brought out and kind of touted here. So, Haley, or Ron, do you want to ask Haley?
Sure.
Sure. Should I like stand up?
Sure.
Yes.
Whatever you're comfortable really.
So I just have a copy of what you guys have on the screen. I'll just kind of talk about what I understand from what I heard at the meeting. So basically, I just need to look at this word. So small towns, so under who will qualify? Small towns and local units of government representing a population of 30,000 or less are eligible to apply to their county board for the grants. So this would mean that like the town of Houston would be able to apply for these grants. The school board would be able to apply for these grants. Any just governmental type entity under 30,000 would be able to apply for these grants. And it would basically, these grants could help you basically with anything that you needed. So one issue that the city planner from Houston talked about was like our levee needs to be recertified, and something infrastructure and sewage or water treatment or something like that was bad. And then the different towns were just talking about all their issues, and it was kind of depressing. Everyone was just kind of complaining for a while, but they were talking about how basically you just need to submit like what you do with the money and like a strategic planning assessment, I think that's what it was called. Submit it to the county, and then they'll, if you get the grant, they'll decide what to do with it, to give it to people.
Yep.
I'm really butchering this, I'm sorry, this was like 2 weeks ago. So it just says on here like the different things it can be used for, say how to apply, you just submit like a needs assessment, engagement plan, certified documents, and then basically they just talked about how Tim Walls and his team have traveled across his district 3 times over the course of his time in office, and they've talked to countless different communities about their issues, and this bill is just basically trying to address as many of these issues as possible by offering money up to 5 million per year?
Yes.
Up to 5 million per year. So I think that would be pretty awesome, especially like for Houston, because I know even in like the school district we have different, I mean, if it's $5 million, who doesn't want that to use to like solve your issues? Like the town could use it, the county could use it if the county in total is under 30,000. So there's a lot of different uses for it, and I think it's probably a good idea for it to be passed.
So is he wanting these towns and school districts to apply before it's passed?
No. What he wants is for each of the towns or school districts, those entities that could apply, to submit a resolution supporting it, so he can go back to Washington saying, I've got all of these people who support this bill.
Okay. So
And there have been, oh, I'm sorry for interrupting.
You want us to, we're just gonna vote if we want.
The resolution.
Right,
Yeah.
the resolution. Mhm.
Yeah, and there's already been many communities and different government entities that have supported this as well, and he's went around to a lot of them talking about it.
How did you get involved in this, or?
Miss Abraham asked Mrs. Mathers, our teacher, to pick 2 seniors that she thought would probably represent students in our area or our community. And she picked me and Trenton, and we basically listened to all the adults talk, and we kind of chimed in with our own stuff. I talked about, well, at the beginning we all talked about different issues that we thought were important in our county, and I talked about the agricultural industry, especially like small local family-owned farms, and especially dairy farms, because I have personal connection to that, being as my family's dairy farmers. And I just talked about that there is a huge need, especially in this area, for support for small, locally owned family farms.
Were there a lot of other students there?
We were the only 2 students, so I guess the other communities didn't choose to bring students.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a really good opportunity, and
That is
all the people
fantastic.
like shook my hand afterward, like, you're awesome.
You were awesome.
We're great.
Haley and Trenton were exceptional role models and representatives for Houston Public Schools.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
And Trenton talked about the fact that his main concern is for the environment and water, especially our aquifer system, to make sure that that's maintained. So we've got the both the water quality, but also the tourism and the outdoor activities. Spoken like a true Boy Scout.
Appreciate you giving up your evening to come in and speak
Thank you,
to this.
thank you.
Um,
Is it okay if I
it's-
head out after this?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's my sister's birthday, and she just got
Oh!
home. No, she just got home from her volleyball game, so
Oh,
we're just
okay.
gonna have supper.
Okay.
That's why
Well,
she called.
yeah.
So.
Your coming here is what makes us feel best about sitting at this table, so
Thank you guys. Thank you for having us
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you. And thank you for not only coming tonight, but thank you for going to the meeting.
Oh,
They
it's
got interviewed
Thank you.
afterwards, and so they're going to be up on
up on his Twitter sometime.
Twitter, yeah.
What we
Nice.
think
Yes.
is important.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'd
guys.
give you
Have
Have
first
a good
call
evening.
off tomorrow, but I don't think that's a good idea.
So do we need to
See you
vote
guys.
on this?
Yeah, we need
Yes.
to, you wanna introduce him?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to add a district to the resolution.
Okay.
Okay, is it appropriate for him to read it then?
Does he need to read it?
I don't know, well,
We haven't.
Yes.
You
have to-
introduce the resolution and just say, do you want to move for its adoption? And then you don't, you can
Okay.
skip reading it if you so
Move,
choose.
and I so move for its adoption.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No, in terms of that, in the small schools, I'm on the advisory board for my broadband, my energy, and they're also applying for that for the small schools because of the internet capability on that. And it was brought up at their meeting that maybe that Minnesota Rural Education Association also should be signing one of these and sending it in to support it.
Actually,
as well, so that
after we get the resolution signed, I can zip a copy to Fred Dolan at MREA.
That would be great.
Okay.
And will we hear, I mean, Walls has to introduce this and it has to pass. So it's not a done deal. We're just throwing our support to this.
And the way
Initiative.
most bills go, it never passes the first time, but at least this is getting our foot in the door, and whomever, replaces Tim Walls will have this as their first kind of marching orders, so.
I
But
guess I
they-
would,
They did say that there was, in terms of the USDA road development, that is on high priority, and the president is, believe it or not, supporting that. on that.
Oh, okay, so maybe it could have
So
legs.
it could
Well,
be good.
I mean, hopefully Congressman Walls will be communicative about the status so that the students who have put this in could be told whether it's happening or not happening, as well as us, but
Right.
especially those who were there, who never hear whatever happened to that.
And his staff has been, and they have, when he is done with office, they are attached to him, not the office. So they don't know what's going to happen.
Well, anything that you can do to keep in the loop on it would
Yep.
be appreciated.
Call
sure.
a question on it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
Gym door replacement.
Yeah. Gym door replacement. Did somebody say that?
Yeah, I just did.
While I was scrambling to find where I was.
Right, I was trying to help, sorry. Okay, the doors, the entrance doors to the gym in the hallway, those wooden doors. They've got a locking mechanism, top and bottom, and it no longer securely goes down, nor does it securely go up. And so we can't make sure that the gym is securely locked even though the doors are locked. There is no fix anymore to that, and so we've asked for a quote. These are the examples that they gave us. To replace exactly what's there is $10,485, that's with the wood. If we're going with the 18 gauge steel door instead, and we can paint that, actually the trim outside, I thought it was bronze, it is gray. So we could go with the gray doors on both sides, so it matches that trim. That would bring it down to $7,745. And then if we wanted to go with the fiberglass reinforced polyester door instead of wood grain, and I don't know why we do that, but that would bring it down to $9,005.
Has this topic been rolling around facilities for a while?
This is the 5th time that Lacrosse Glass has given us a quote on these doors. That's how long it's been. Has it talked about facilities lately? No. But it's been a constant. We've gotten a quote and then we kicked the can down the road. And it's
So they've done previous door work, that's why they were called upon?
they keep trying to fix the lock that's there, and it is beyond repair at this point. There is no way to fix the lock in a way that the doors will stay secure.
So if we approve this, then how soon will they act? How soon are they gonna be able to swap it out?
We would call Dave at Lacrosse Glass tomorrow, and they'd order the door. We would get them before winter sports season.
So this is first time this has been on full board agenda, and you're asking for action tonight or at the next meeting? I'm curious.
It's the first time it's been at the full board, and yes, I am asking for approval tonight. It's just, I knew there was an issue. I didn't know how severe the issue was until Ryan Needfeld brought me down there to actually show me the issue, and then I realized how really necessary the new doors are. But it's with the board. Do you want the wood looking doors or do you want the steel doors?
What's recommended?
It's just appearance.
It's just appearance.
It's-
At that point, it's both are secure. Both would provide the security. Both would have the up and down locking mechanism. It's just aesthetics.
They're not getting weather, so steel won't rust or anything because they're inside, they're not on the outside door. So steel should be fine, saving $3,000 almost.
What budget is this coming out of, or what is this?
This would be long-term facility maintenance, and we do have money in long-term facility maintenance.
What does, what is the principal and the Andy or whoever else deals with this stuff, what do you? can I
Well, Andy
ask?
is the
Sure.
one that keeps asking for the quote, and so he said, do we finally get it this time? And Todd has wanted this for how many years?
So you saw samples of the door. Is there an inside the school feeling on? Does the wood grain add to the look, or do you want to just?
The other doors down there are wood grain
Okay.
and
so we'll keep-
not steel.
Okay.
Well, how?
In
but
talking to Andy, Andy said he thought wood would probably look better. And I said, we save close to $3,000 going with the steel. And I guess I
Todd,
should
any
ask
thoughts
Todd.
on it? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think the steel would be nice. I think it's gonna end up being more secure. I mean, they work now as far as, shutting, but they really don't. If someone went up like that, they could pull it open. But that's been done for years. I definitely think we need to have it. The other nice thing about these doors are that the windows are smaller, and I would say every other year, or sometimes every year, where a window is getting busted during baseball, softball season inside, that when the window gets smaller, it's actually gonna,
And it's a
pay for
smaller,
itself in time.
4
It's gonna be a
inch.
stronger, yeah.
smaller window on the steel doors, or
Yeah.
on-
Correct. Either one, it's gonna be a
Either one.
smaller window.
It's a, yes.
So, and again, it's been this way forever. I mean, meaning this has probably been this way for 15 years, the locking mechanisms, it really has, which is unfortunate, because, people can get in. If they're in the building, they can get in the gym.
the only thing that I'm, slightly uncomfortable with on this tonight is that Facilities Committee has dealt with this several times, and for whatever reasons, they haven't put it at the top of the queue. So what else is in the queue that we're not thinking of? That's my unknown. It sounds like we have the budget and we have the money and there's a need for it, but it's the breadth of the topic that is.
Well, I think facilities was also spending a lot of time on garage and spending a lot of time on bigger projects, and this is just one of those little projects that just kind of fell to the wayside because there were bigger things that they were
Yeah,
talking
those are
about.
easy ones to say, let's do this one. That's all right.
What is the lift, the stage lift? That's a steel door, isn't it?
The
So-
stage lift, yes.
Yeah, that's a steel door there, so if we had a wood door and they can get in easier or something, with steel, they could go that way around instead to get in. If
we-
wanted to get in, Jim.
If we were to wait 2 weeks till the next board meeting, would that mean that the doors would not be able to be in by the start of the winter season? Or is it an unknown?
I'm not sure how long, I did not ask Dave when I talked to him how long it would take. I should have, and I did not.
I would prefer to have the full board here,
So are the lunchroom doors, they're gonna be a future need?
yeah, that's a good question,
The
Josh.
wood ones there, could be. I don't know if those are, I don't
Are
see the
those
same.
secure? Those are locked, you can,
Well, the difference there is we have those hallway doors, before you get to that.
yeah, you're locked
So
out
that's
there.
locked, so it's not as important on those others, because those are pretty securely locked. So if someone got in from the outside for some reason, they're gonna have a tougher time getting through those next set of doors to go into the cafeteria than to get in the rest of the hallway.
It's just they don't seem to have taken the same type of,
Kids wanna get in the gym.
right, the kids wanna get in the gym doors have taken a lot more wear.
That's my understanding.
I'm trying to figure out whole security thing in this. These are the doors that you go into the gym.
Correct.
Is this door, does it have what do you call that thing on the bottom? And, I mean, is it handicapped accessible? I mean, are these doors such that they are compliant ADA? They're
Correct. They're
wide,
compliant.
they're,
Yeah,
okay,
because it would be two, and you could open both of them.
and there's no post in the center, or,
No.
okay.
It's wide open.
They just have those things that flip
Yeah,
down.
it's-
They flip into the floor, that's what's failing.
What's
Yeah.
the
Okay,
last
and the
deduction?
reason that
I'm not quite
security
following
is
it.
needed
1480.
there
What
is
else do you
because-
deduct off there? If you
Oh,
just-
no,
Because
that's-
people
that's
can get into the building.
10,485 is
Yeah,
the
the
base
gym is
price
not
of the
secure.
doors.
Yep,
Would,
Yep.
replacing exactly what we have. If we went with steel,
yeah,
we deduct 2740 from that 10,485.
yep, gotcha.
If we wanted the fiberglass reinforced polyester door instead, then
It's
we
14.
deduct 1480 from the 10,485.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, if we're gonna do
So both,
anything other than wood, why wouldn't we do the steel door? I don't know why you'd do this fiberglass reinforced polyester.
Like I said, the elevator, the left is steel, and it's right next to it. Very well.
And it's gray.
Yeah.
But if you wanna hold this over till the next meeting, we can do that too.
I would just as soon make a motion to postpone it till, what I
I
do,
don't think we even need a motion for that, do we?
just, or if we don't get a motion for it, I guess. If we don't postpone it, then it won't be
Right.
brought up.
Is that a
Right,
new,
we need to,
Yeah. I make a motion that we table it till the next meeting when we have our 2 facility board members here,
is it a new frame at all then?
or at least one of them.
Just the doors?
Mhm.
Wow. I know that stuff does add up.
we've got a motion,
To table it, I second that.
okay.
We have a motion to table. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay.
We should look at those other doors down the hall too, maybe we can get a discount for 4.
Well, there.
I mean, or other,
Has it been priced out with other contractors?
I know we're not required because it's under the.
Right,
yeah,
and
but-
lacrosse glass has almost always been the,
I understand
When we-
alliances.
yeah. well, no, when we've looked, they've been the cheapest.
They've won
Yeah.
so far.
And that's why we just went back there, because they've been the most economical to go with by a long shot.
Okay,
Approval to pay third quarter board pay.
so moved.
We have a motion
Second,
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Carried. Policies for first reading.
I did talk to all the principals about each of these policies, and they're looking at them, because that is, with the student policies, it impacts them, what they're doing.
That one is only 29 pages.
Yeah. Only.
Okay, any thoughts on those? Okay. Announcements?
I've got a couple of things. We had our bus inspection and received 100% approval. Not one citation, not one thing written up. That is unheard of, so I would like to publicly thank our transportation director. That is incredibly amazing, that he's got those buses in a state where they are DOT approved in all aspects.
Excellent.
Then we also have the My School tab on the North Star report card. I was thinking of taking this information to the District Advisory Committee, because we can write something up to 100 or 1,200 characters to describe our school, and we need to have it in there by October 30th so that we can highlight some of the information that's not captured in the data in that North Star report. And 1,200 characters is not much. It's not 1,200 words, which to me doesn't even seem like enough.
Boy.
But 1,200 characters is,
That's three. Let's
Yeah,
see, what are
three.
tweets up to now?
140.
280.
Oh, they were
Yeah,
140.
So it's a few tweets.
yeah. It's about 4 tweets.
Who's gonna write this up?
Well, I could write it, but
Corinne
You could
offered to write it,
she
but in the
could
board
work.
update, she asked
And
for
then
any
Maybe we
suggestions.
could assist in making shorter words. Maybe Dr. Zeus or something.
well, but since I didn't get any feedback on that, but I thought maybe the District Advisory Committee would like to weigh in on it, and we've got board members there too, so if you have anything you want added, something highlighted, please either let me know or let the board reps on that District Advisory Committee know.
I would want to invite the building principals, the site principals. They, better than anybody, probably knows something that's not in the data on the scorecard that is a best kept secret about why you should be enrolled here, so
Yeah.
see what they have to say.
Okay. And then I do have I'm just letting you know that we've got the proxy vote for the Minnesota School Boards Association Insurance Trust. So I'm letting you know that I will be voting on the school district's behalf.
What is that?
So we're part of the Minnesota School Boards Association Insurance Trust. And so it's election of trustees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
One of those.
I didn't want to vote for something without letting you know that I was voting on your behalf. And then the other thing is, we got our letter today from the state of Minnesota on the Safe Schools grant. Our lottery number was not low enough to be lucky enough to be awarded. Of the over 1,100, they were expecting 500 applications. They got just under 1,200 applications. And they funded the first 167 of them, and we are number 424. So if those first 167 can't use the funds, and
The next time.
the next 200 and some can't, then we're in. And I thought, well, the only positive thing about that is that at number 424, we are a palindrome. So,
I'm excited.
yeah.
There you go.
It's just, but that also is a sign of how much the need exists for districts to revamp their schools and to redo things for security reasons. Hiawatha Valley Ed District was one of the awarded entities. They got $12,000 to do some security work at the WIN and Spectrum program. So that means that they will be installing something in Caledonia. But HVED got it. In this area, Mabel Canton got about $480,000 to do some type of secure entrance. But Mabel is the only one in the area.
Is there any any hope that this would be renewed or might be renewed, or it's totally new ball game?
It's
with
a
the new-
totally new ball game. We're gonna have a new governor. I'm not sure, nobody knows who the governor is going to be, in looking at the platforms of those that are running. I don't have a crystal ball on this one at all. At least now, they funded just over 1/10 of the applications. Meaning that there are still 90% of those schools that applied with needs that got nothing. Which to me says, ooh, there might be a need to fund this a little more. So I'm,
Or to figure out how you can maybe spread it out a little more and have people help with it locally.
Well, we kinda knew it was a slim to none chance.
Um,
Right.
well,
Thanks for trying.
Worth a try.
Yep,
And our school is
If we
staying
got it all, then we would have
pretty
been
secure.
yeah, of
That
course.
they
That's
didn't spread
another
it out.
bonus.
That's right.
our
Maybe we can't
schools are
lose weight.
secure. I just wanted
Yeah.
the security at the elementary school to match the security we have at the high school, and it doesn't yet. And so
That would have been our effort or our
Yeah.
use of
Are
it.
there other
Yep.
funds available for that, or?
there are no funds. This was the closest thing we ever got to funds for new construction. Because we can't use long-term facility maintenance for new construction at all. You can only remodel existing space.
Maybe we can use Tim Waltz's new funds.
Yep. Okay. That's what I have.
Okay. Meetings, updates.
I just had a question on, whether we're gonna be having meet and confer in October.
There were some things they were talking about. I have not gotten an agenda yet, so I will,
Well, we didn't meet in May,
no.
so we never even set the tentative schedule for this academic cycle, I don't think.
I got it on my board,
Oh,
so yeah, we must have.
Okay, I was looking for that. So anyway, would you just,
Yep.
let us know? on-
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. I will go down and talk to Kyle about it tomorrow.
Okay.
HFID, we got, looking at the proposals this Tuesday, so other than that.
And I registered you, and I registered you.
And I'm not, I mean, I looked at the agenda and my time frame, and I will not be able to be there for all three presentations.
Okay.
I'll only be able to be there for most of the first one, so I'm not sure what value that brings if I can't really hear them, like,
Yeah.
hear what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
I don't, you can split my lunch, you guys.
Oh, I said you wouldn't be able to.
Stay for lunch,
probably
oh,
joke,
okay.
stay for lunch, so-
Okay, so that's not, we're not, oh, anything, so
Is-
anyway, I'm not.
Where's Tom going to or not?
Yes,
Tom.
Okay.
because I said that you and Tom would both be
Yeah.
eating pizza with us.
Yeah, I guess I need to confer now for the 24th.
24th is correct.
And then February 27th.
Oh, you're better than me. What is it, February 27th?
February 24th, my birthday. It's a good one to go to on my birthday.
And October,
February 27th. October 24th.
and February 27th.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, we don't know if we have anything yet, but
Yeah, they call 'em, so,
Mhm.
okay?
The Booster Club is having barbecue ribs this Saturday from 11 till 2. And that's out by
it's at
JT's.
JT's, right, yeah.
By JT's, so you might want to support the Booster Club. They don't have too many members, I know. I've talked to
They never have had,
Krasinski, and
they've
she
had
says
better
that now.
years and worse years, but it's usually a small but
Yeah,
dedicated
Yeah.
group.
Okay.
so I told Mel I would let you know.
Okay. Thank yous, future agenda items, feedback.
We'll be doing the board self-evaluation at the next meeting?
Yes, I thought that there was no reason for
No, of course
doing
not.
it today without the entire board.
Now with TRA,
TRA,
yeah, the amount that we have to give is going back to this July 2018, and they're adding a 0.25% on each year for the next 6 years. For the, and the teachers don't start theirs till 2023 or something.
correct.
Did we have that in negotiation or anything for costs? That's going to be a cost we're going to hit?
But the state's paying for it, so our
Oh.
costs don't change.
Okay,
So it is totally funded by
okay.
the state, so it does not impact our costs.
That was one of the little wins from the last.
Well, yeah, because they put it in, I mean, then they made it retroactive if we did a contract or anything.
Because
So
it's state.
Right,
the state is picking it up then.
Right.
Okay,
Anything else? Motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
and a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.